All right, let's spend whatever amount of time we have left, no more than that, probably less, going over this. Please look up on the screen here, okay? This first thing, that's an import statement. That allows us to set up a format pattern for anything that's got dollars and cents in it. All right, Tiffany asked, she said, why did you do that? And I said, so you were sure it had dollars and cents. And she said, oh, mine does. It has 0.00, and maybe it does, but I would guarantee you that without this, yours didn't have commas in it, and it didn't have the dollar sign in it unless you manually put it in. So what we're saying is there is something that's under the Java class, under the text class, there is a method that's called decimal format that I'm going to use in the program. Does that make sense? All right. And if you go down further, here it is. Now this looks a little weird, so let's go over it. It's the thing in blue right there at the top. What this says, any place you see a pound sign, that means if there is a number there, show it. And if there's no number, don't show anything. All right? Notice that I've got all these, but there's a 0 here. That makes sure that at a minimum, I will have a pattern that says 0.00. Does that make sense? I'm expecting that no one is making more than $999,999,999.99. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. All right? So I made it bigger than I had. I mean, I could do this if I wanted to. I could go pound, 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 comma, pound, 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 comma, pound, 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 comma. I could do that. That's kind of overkill, but I could do that. Probably it would have been just fine to make it like this. It would have worked fine. All right? But I'll just leave it the way that it was, which was like that. All right. Now, does everybody understand the concept of a no-arg constructor? If you don't, please look up on the screen here. When I first did this and I created a Jeff object here, I said create a Jeff object and don't pass anything into it. That line that's in blue there, line 140. So the system said try to find a constructor for payroll that has nothing in it. And it finds this one. So it says, okay, I'm just creating a Jeff object, and for that Jeff object, the first name will be FNU, the last name will be LNU, it will have no hours, and it will have no rate. Does everybody agree with that? All right? But please look up on the screen here. Did you notice that for all these, notice how we call all these get routines? What did we never call? A set routine. So, okay, now we hired Jeff, but before we're going to print out all of his information here. So before we print out his hours and his rate, oh, he started working now. So I'm going to say Jeff.set rate. He's going to make $35 an hour. All right? And Jeff, he's .set hours. He's going to work 70 hours a week. Do you notice how I don't get any errors there? All right. So I've come in there and I've set Jeff's rate and Jeff's hours. So I'm going to do a file, save all. I'm going to right mouse click and I'm going to run it again. So now let's see where Jeff is on here. And notice I don't have a name yet, but I now have a number of hours I worked and a rate. Does that make sense? I could come in here, should have really come in here, and said before I did all this stuff for me, okay, I should have come in and said Jeff.set first name, Jeff. Jeff.set last name, Scott. Oops. Now, having done all that, if I again run the program, now notice Didn't change. Well, something screwed up. That's fine. I'll check on it in just a minute. But the point is, notice that for everybody else, not only do we have hours, not only do we have rate, but if they worked overtime, that overtime has been calculated. Does that make sense? All right. So I want to go back and I want to look. I'll take your, I don't know if you have a question, but I'll take it in a second. I want to go back and I want to look at the set rate and the set hours.
Don't they need to be put before it prints them out?
Did I put it afterwards? Because that would sure do it. Yeah.
Because you have the set.
You're right. These two aren't going to change because I have to set my name before I print it out. So that should go right there. I don't know if that's what you were going to say, but if it is, yeah, you're definitely correct. So let's check one more time. Yep, and there's all my info. Okay. So what I changed, just so you see this, this is the exact same program you have, except I added calls to set first name and set last name, calls to set rate and set hours for me. Okay? Guess what? Ethan has now been at this company for 50 years. So what they've decided for his rate is they're going to double his rate. All right? He must have some kind of a rate right now. I'm going to see if I can say Ethan dot set rate. Now I want to see if I can set it to rate times 2. It doesn't like that. What if I put a this in front of that? Still, oh, no, it doesn't like the this. Okay, and the problem all has to do with the fact that this routine right here is static, but it's referencing something that's not static. I don't want to get into that because it'll be too hard to understand. Okay, let's just put it this way. Let's say that I want to change Ethan's rate. So whatever his rate was, let's just make it $100 an hour. Okay, so his rate is now $100 an hour. Let's go back and let's run it, and then let's check his rate. All right, it's now $100 an hour. When you use sets, you are changing values. You know, I've given this example before. You may or may not have heard it. All right? But there's a pretty good chance. I know this happened with us. All right? You know, I think I've told you, all 3 of my daughters are adopted. I saw my oldest daughter the day after she was born. And it went in there, and I, you know, we knew the birth mother. We had talked with her and stuff. And it said there, it said Baby Scott. That's what it said. Right? You know, the little tag that was on the crib that was there. And she said, what's her name going to be? And I said, Taylor. So she immediately went and made another tag and put it in there. To my knowledge, other than that, and when they set her birth certificate, that's the only time her name was set. Does that make sense? On October 5th, she's going to get married. And my guess is she's going to take her husband's name. Whether or not that's a good thing, because it's Bumpus. All right? So she goes from Taylor Francis Scott to Taylor Francis Bumpus. All right? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but at least she's told me she's going to take her name. So that'll be the second time she sets her name. All right? Now, we didn't put this in there, but if I went and looked every time since I graduated from college, and I did, for example, a set address, I probably have changed my address a dozen times. So I could do a set address for each one of those. All right? And we could actually go, if we, you know, we didn't do this, but we could have come in, for example, for Ethan, we could have come in here where we've got all this stuff, and we could have, if we really wanted to, done a before and after. So I could have said his current rate is, and then I could have changed it and said his new rate is. We could have done that. When you do get routines, you're grabbing existing information. When you do set routines, you're changing existing information. Does that make sense? Now, I'm going to use myself here on purpose because I want to break the rules. Please look up on the screen. All right? I came in here and changed my name. All right? Added it. Fine. If you remember, we said the maximum rate you could have was $250. I'm going to make mine $250.01. We said the maximum hours you could work was 84. I'm going to make mine 84.1. I'm asking you, what should happen in both those cases? Should set them to 0. Because I've entered a value that's out of range. So I'm going to do a file, save all, right mouse click on it, tell it to run it, and then look at my information once it comes up. All right? Now, what I did was pretty severe. We could have, where we did this stuff in here, and hopefully this is all kind of clicking a little bit for you. But for example, in here, did we have to do it like that? No. We could have made that a while loop, couldn't we? Haven't we done that kind of thing before? Where we said while the hours is less than or equal to minimum hours, or the hours is greater than or equal to maximum, tell them to do it again. There's a lot of ways we could do this. And probably setting it to 0 isn't a good thing. All right? That's probably going to make your employees pretty ticked. But if you say, hey, unless you're told otherwise, everybody here works 40 hours. Unless you're told otherwise, everybody here makes 10 hours or makes $10 an hour. Does that make sense? That makes a little bit more sense. So changing it like that, like I just did, and saving everything, and then coming back and running it again, hopefully at least, that'll give me $400. And it does. All right. Does what we're doing here make sense? This is object-oriented programming. You write a lot of little methods. You have getters. You have setters. Now, what you're going to find when we actually start writing some stuff in here that's going to be more for Android, it's going to be like this, but not exactly like this. All right. That's why I wanted to go right into Kotlin, but I was told, no, don't do that. So I'm not going to do that. You could all say, oh, just do it. We won't say it. We won't tell. If he found out, he'd be mad. So I'm tired of getting people mad at me. I got plenty of people mad at me already.
Remember what language is there a reason why we're spending less time on Java and reading more with Java?
Okay, it's because once you get into it, the C# and Java are almost the same language. And Java, one of the reasons it's so popular is it's not a Microsoft product. All right, and C#, one of the reasons some people don't use it is because it's a Microsoft product. And I've said this before, if I had somebody from Microsoft here and they heard me say this, they wouldn't be happy. But really what C# is it's Microsoft's version of Java. That's what it is. Yeah. And most of the differences that are in it are more on the really complex things that we wouldn't have time to go over in a class anyway. All right. I mean, and some of these are syntactical. You used const. You did, when you were doing constants in C#. The logic is the same. When you look at this program, there's not a lot of logic in this program. Most of the logic is in your set rate, your set hours, and your gross. That's about it for the logic. All right? The rest of it is just, okay, I got to do this now, I got to do this now. All right? All right, just let me peruse my way through the rest of this, and then we'll call it a period. All right? So, again, with this constructor, notice with both constructors, I had to add 1 to my count. And I only want to do that when I create an employee. Does that make sense? If I'd have left this one out, it would have said I had 8 employees instead of 9 because I put me in there as the no-arg constructor. If it would have been even worse if I would have left that one out, because then it would have said I only have one employee. All right. Again, hopefully the gets make sense to you. Whenever you use a get, you have a return type because you're returning something. Whenever you use a set, the return type is void because you're not returning anything. Okay? Again, look at it, the same example I gave you before. I look at Tiffany. I don't know who she is. What's your name? She says Tiffany. That's a get name. All right? But if she comes in here and I say, well, you know, we're giving all of you numbers. You're number 32. That's a set name, if that's the way you're going to be referred to. Does that make sense? All right? Because that's what Java is more than anything else. It's a boatload of getters and setters. All right, I wanted to show you something I changed in here. It may look a little funny. Notice that all of these get routines, all right, get last name, etc., all right, all these, none of them are doing anything. Would you agree? They're all just returning something, all right? And all of these set routines are doing something. But notice what I did here. For gross, I called it get gross. Could I have called it set gross? Sure. Okay, I could have if I wanted to. There's a term that I want you to hear every time by calling it get gross like this. Every single time that I'm doing this, all right, I'm making sure I've got a value in there for hours and a value in there for rate. I should never call get gross until I figured out their hours that they worked and their rate. Does that make sense? If I don't know how many hours you worked, I can't figure out what your gross is. If I don't know what you make per hour, I can't figure out what your gross is. All right, unless I give you some default values. All right, this is by having this routine like this and calling it get, we're eliminating what's called stale data. We want to make sure whenever we run this and we're figuring out the gross, we've got the most current value. Okay, in fact, let's assume just for a second, let's pretend that everybody, there is no overtime, period. Okay, we could have then done this. Does that make sense? What I'm saying is, this would have gone out and it would have grabbed the latest value that's in there for hours. This would have grabbed the latest value that's in there for rate, and it would have used those. All right? That's making sure you have no stale data. Now, could we have done it here too? Yeah, but we would have had, I guess we actually could rewrite this. This could be get hours, and this could be get rate. And that actually should still work. And if we had somebody in here who was a pure Java programmer, then she or he would say, hey, finally you're showing something to them that's worthwhile. Let's double check and make sure that still works. So I'm going to do a file, save all, right mouse click, and again, run the program. Look at my output. You'll notice everything still looks the same. So what am I doing? Every time that I come in here, that I have to perform a calculation to make sure that I've got the latest and greatest value. Now, so if you want to, I don't know if you want to copy this or not, it's up to you. But that's the only change. That's why I said I'm constantly rewriting this stuff myself, trying to show it to you written in a quote, better way, unquote.
It wouldn't be the first rate, wouldn't be get rate, it would just be rate.
Which one here?
The rate, the hardest max.
that one would be get right too. There was absolutely nothing wrong with the way we had it. It still worked. In fact, Tiffany, that was an excellent question, but let me do a save all and let me run it again because I want to make sure, I don't want to give you anything that's bad. Looks like it still works. All right, so as far as I can tell, yes, but yes, you are correct. That was a very good get. All right. And I'm not going to lie to you and say, you know what, this is one of the best frickin' programs that was ever written. No, it was me sitting down in an afternoon and literally writing a bunch of versions of this same program. That's what it was. You've gone through 4 of them. I've got, let's see, a 5th one. There's another one, 2, 3. I've got like 4 more versions of programs. I think what I'm going to do is tomorrow I'm just going to give you the source code and we're going to go over each one of them. I don't expect you, it's break now. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do anything during break. I'm just going to have to sit and memorize Java stuff. No. But we've gone over this stuff as far as doing it. What you've done with this payroll program is you've seen the same kind of program written, and written again. We started really simple when we hard-coded values. Then we went to where we were getting keyboard input. Then we went to where we were getting input from an input box and output to a message box. Now, this is the first pure Java program we've written. But I've got another copy where I use arrays. I've got another copy that uses loops. I've got another copy that uses files, so we can read stuff to and from files. And then there's another one, I don't remember what the last one does. All right? Just so you can see this stuff. All right? That was my hope, was to get that far this week. All right, so again, like I said, the idea is come next semester, you're doing more relearning than you are learning. My plan for next semester, just so you know, and I don't know if I might not be giving it to you in the right order, but we're going to do a BMI program, then we're going to do what's called a tip calculator program. Now these, good, bad, or indifferent, we're going to write at least each of these 3 times. One of these in straight Java, one of these in Java for Android, and then once in Kotlin. That'll be right there. That'll be 6 programs that we write. The good news is the logic is the same for all of them. The way that you do it will be the same basically for all of them. The BMI one and the tip calculator that we do in Java, just regular Java, will be from the command line. They won't be pretty. Then we'll go and we'll make them into apps where they'll have an interface. All right? And we'll even do some stuff with it. I don't know if you call it fun, but for lack of better words, if the person is overweight, we'll get a graphic of an overweight person, like a cartoon, and have that come up. If they're skinny, that kind of thing. People seem to like that. Not that they're skinny, fat, or whatever, but that you start showing some stuff in there. And we'll do the same kind of thing with Kotlin. All right? Then we'll go, and with this tip calculator, we'll have something like this. So it'll look something like this. And it'll say here like bill. So this is your bill. Okay? And over here, we might, I don't know how we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it with radio buttons. 10%, 15%, 20%. You work in a restaurant, right? Didn't you say you did that? Do you usually get any more than 20%?
Actually, the average, technically now 20% is the average.
Is it? Okay, well, we can change it then. We can make it 20,
Like 15, 20.
yeah,
and
15,
30.
20, and 25, something like that. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. So 15, 20, and let's just make it 30. Or we could make another button and make it 25 and 30, that kind of thing, all right? Then we'll have a thing down here that will say tip and total. So if your bill is $25, all right, I'm gonna make it easy, and we choose this one, then the tip is $5, and the total will be $30. That make sense? And we'll do that, and it'll be not that different than that, but kind of graphical like that. All right, and then I don't know. My hope is I'll come up with a couple more during the break. All right. Then what I'd like us to do once we get to that point, then I'd like us to, even if it's a simple one, I'd like us to build a game, because people just seem to like games. All right. Oh wow, we're gonna actually do something fun in here. Yeah, we'll do something like that. I don't know what it'll be. All right. See, the bad thing is I had, I don't know, probably 15 different apps written, and when I dropped my external hard drive, I thought I had that stuff backed up. I didn't, and the hard drive's ruined. They tried for 2 weeks to recapture data, and nobody could recapture anything, so I lost all that stuff. So it just means I got to redo it. I'll try to get all this stuff together for tomorrow for the rest of the files that I have, all right? Throw them on a flash drive or something and then pass them out to everybody.